South Jordan has one of the strongest reputations in Utah. We've got great schools, beautiful neighborhoods, and one of the faster growing communities in the state. But right now there's something happening in one part of the city in particular, it's about half of South Jordan, that is putting buyers in a stronger leveraged position. So let me show you exactly what's going on. I'm Christopher McGee, I am the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. We are with the Keller Williams Utah right here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we help people just like you relocate from all over these United States to right here in the Salt Lake area. So if that happens to be you, then right now might be a good time to pause the video, go into the video description, click on the Google form link, fill that out, and I will be reaching out to you directly. We can get everything in order. I want to be your easy button for this whole process. That being said, let's jump right into understanding what the South Jordan market looks like right now. And in order to best understand the current right now market, let's give some brief context to how we got where we are here. Just like the rest of Utah leading into and going through COVID, South Jordan went through the same perfect storm of very low supply, very high demand, and very high interest rates, all of which worked together to send prices in homes through the roof. Utah in general saw home prices go up by 27% in 2021. And then as interest rates started to come up in 2022, enthusiasm for high home prices was curbed a little bit and home values rose in 2022 by 12%. In 2023, interest rates were still coming up. They hit their peak at about 8+%. As a national average, home prices rose by 6%. In 2024 and 2025, home prices rose by just 1 to 2% year over year. Now it's the beginning of August 2026, and we'll just see how the year plays out. But I will say that with the United States' current involvement in Iran, interest rates being what they are and trending up has my guess on prices not coming up from here through the end of this year. They trended very moderately up depending on where you're looking through the first and second quarters, but they're really flat right now, and fall into winter isn't usually a time for home prices to rise anyway. Now, South Jordan has been a microcosm of all of this, to be sure. What's happened in Utah abroad has happened in South Jordan. South Jordan saw the same trends to about the same degrees throughout across the same span of time as Utah. But South Jordan has another thing happening right now that's causing things to be a little less awesome for home sellers there and a little bit more awesome for home buyers there. Unlike most cities in Salt Lake County, South Jordan has one factor that's affecting prices more than almost anywhere else in the valley, and that is new construction, which means all the resale sellers have to compete with the new construction. As I pointed out in my video recently on the pros and cons of South Jordan living, and if you are thinking of living in South Jordan, then now might be a great time to watch that video, so we'll flag it in the screen of the video right now. South Jordan is divided in half, almost cleanly, by Bangerter Highway into the older east side of South Jordan and the newer west side of South Jordan, or Daybreak as that master plan community is called. And combining current market temperatures with the fact of being surrounded by new construction has a specific effect that you need to understand if you're thinking of moving here. When you're trying to sell your home and you're surrounded by a community of new builds, specifically where the builders are still actively building homes, it makes it harder for you to sell your home if you've already been living there. And so that pulls down your home value. And this problem is eliminated as soon as the builders move on to another city to develop elsewhere. But as long as they are right there in your neighborhood, it's definitely an issue. It's not because the builder is across the street from your house, kicking up a bunch of dust and making a bunch of noise, although that doesn't help exactly either. It's because nobody is a more motivated, efficient seller than a home builder. The builder doesn't have an emotional connection to that house the same way somebody does who just lived in it and is now trying to sell it. The builder needs to sell that house and move that inventory so that they have the funds they need for the next phase of their building elsewhere. So the builders tend to come out the gate onto the market with asking prices that are more conservative compared to the surrounding area, and they are much more eager and willing to offer concessions and interest rate buy downs that most resale sellers aren't eager to come out the gate with when they put their house on the market. And that is very attractive to buyers, especially when the buyer is deciding between the ability to own this brand new home that they can make completely theirs without having to redo anything else that anybody else did, or buying the resale home that's down the block. And the sellers of that home, while it might be a nice home, just aren't nearly as eager to offer concessions and conservative prices on their home, at least certainly not right off the bat. As a result, those new builds tend to get sold faster, and the resale sellers are left dragging their home prices down as they stay on the market longer, and they're forced to compete with the builders that are more effective, efficient sellers. Like I said, less cool if you're a seller in Daybreak specifically right now, but a great opportunity if you're a buyer looking to possibly move into this area and you know where to look and how to construct your offers. It's an opportunity on either end, right? It's an opportunity whether you're interested in buying one of the new homes, one of the newer builds where the builder is actively offering interest rate buydowns and other concessions and maybe more conservative price points, which they are absolutely offering that. Or whether you're interested in buying a less brand new home, but just a few years old home that the same builder built in that area just a few years ago, where the seller there has to compete with the new builds that are still in the neighborhood. So that's why the market looks the way it does right now. Now let's answer the question that everybody wants to know. What will it actually cost me to buy a home in South Jordan right now? Well, we're going to look at prices in a few different ways. We're gonna look at what average list price is and what average sold price is, because there's a difference between the two. We're also gonna look at what median list price and what median sold price are, we're gonna see the difference between the two, and you'll notice a few important things. So here's a chart showing week over week average list price and average sold price in South Jordan from the beginning of May to present, and that's the span of a quarter's time. That's the last 3 months to present. And you'll see that if you draw a trend line through the whole thing, it looks to be moving up and to the right a little bit, right? You'll also notice that the blue line, the average list price, tends to be just a little bit higher than the average sold price. They follow each other very closely, you see, but it's important to note that sold price tends to be $10,000 to $15,000 less than across the board where homes get listed at. Now let's look at median list and sold price. And it's important to understand that the median is where many more people are having an experience buying. So median sold price tends to follow median list price, again, very closely. And the last data point, they actually happen to land on exactly the same number, $1,619,500. But if you track it across the entirety of the time, nearly every week, median list price is higher than median sold price. What if we look at average list price versus median list price? This is a much more telling chart, in my opinion. We've got average, but then we've got median, and if median is where more people are having an experience, look at this chart. It's important to understand that more people are having an experience significantly lower price pointed than where average is. And where if you're looking at the average list price, it looks like it might be trending up and to the right a little bit. If we look at median list price, it's trending down, if not totally flat. And median sold price tells us the same story against average sold price, because again, average list versus sold and median list versus sold tended to follow the same lines very closely, right? But again, more people in South Jordan look to be having an experience around 620K. And it's just important to note again that in both average and median cases, sold tends to be 10 to 15K lower than list price. And just so you know, average list price across that 3-month time, if we just draw a trend line through the whole thing and look at what the average list price there is, it comes to $756,800. Average sold price across those 3 months comes to $743,916, with about a $13,000 gap between list price and sold price on average. Median list price across that 3-month time, if you draw a trend line through it, that tends to come to about $647,450, where median sold price across that same 3-month span comes to an even $636,000. So also important to note is that median prices are about 100K or a little more than 100K under where average prices are. Now, importantly, what will average or median price points get you? Well, let me walk you through some of the basics of what you would expect for both. So let's place average list price in South Jordan right now at about $750,000. Now let me tell you what you could expect. All of that is definitely single family homes, first of all. You should expect somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet in the home. You should expect 4 to 6 bedrooms and 3 to 4 bathrooms. If it's in Daybreak, you should expect somewhere between an extra $300 to $500 a month in HOA fees. If it's not in Daybreak, then of course don't expect any HOA fees. And you should expect a lot size, if it's not in Daybreak, of about 1/4 of an acre to not quite half an acre. You should expect a 2-car garage, stone countertops, LVP floors and carpet, and there's a likely chance that you'll have vaulted ceilings, maybe double ovens in the kitchen, a rather large kitchen island, as well as some things that just make the place more interesting for a wandering eye, like wainscoting or shiplap or accent walls like that, things like this. Oh, and you would definitely have an ensuite bathroom to the master bedroom. So now let's put median price point at about $640,000, and let's look at what you should expect in a close range around that. Most of these are going to be single family homes, but there were a couple of townhomes in the mix. Whether it's townhomes or single family homes, everything else that follows should be about the same. You should expect about 2,200 to 3,200 square feet in the home. You should expect anywhere from 3 to 5 bedrooms and still 3 to 4 bathrooms. If it's in Daybreak, and it probably is at this price point, then again, you should still expect about $300 to $500 in HOA fees per month. If it's not in Daybreak, then you should expect about 1/4 of an acre for the plot size of the land that comes with your house. You're still likely to have a 2-car garage. You should still expect the same quality craftsmanship as far as like stone countertops, carpet and LVP flooring, and everything will just feel a little bit smaller, obviously, right? The square footage isn't quite there where it was for the higher price point on average, and so less likely to have vaulted ceilings. You're still likely to have a decent sized kitchen, but less likely to have a huge island counter space. Probably have some less intricate work on the walls as far as like wainscoting and shiplap and things like that go. And you're still likely, by the way, to have an ensuite bathroom on the master bedroom and probably a walk-in closet as well. Okay, so let me point out a few other trends that I'm seeing and what I anticipate in the very near future as far as supply and demand and interest rates goes as it affects South Jordan. All right, our housing supply. So let's say we just look at that same 3-month span of history from 3 months ago to present and see what we find and what the story tells us with each of these bits of data. So housing supply 3 months ago was at about 400 available homes for sale in South Jordan. Right now, we're at about 410. So that hasn't moved much. It's basically been flat. It's done this a little bit across time, gone up and down, varied a little bit, but it's been around 100. And in my opinion, this is at its high plateau point. I don't anticipate it getting up much from here. I anticipate it plateauing and then starting to dip. And I anticipate that because the nature of the market nationally as well as locally isn't supporting as much new builds at this point. And interest rates continue to go up, and we are heading into a season, fall and then winter, where we don't expect as much builder activity anyway, or as much resale activity in terms of more people putting their listings on the market. And so for the very near future, those are the reasons that I would think that housing supply is either plateaued and or starting to trend down. What about housing demand? Well, if we measure housing demand by the number of homes sold week over week, and we look at that 3-month span of time from right now to 3 months ago, the beginning of May, then what we see is that there was an average of 28 and a half, although you can't really sell a half of a house, but that's the average number if we pull it across for the entirety of those 3 months. Now, if we look at a chart that shows how many homes were sold week over week across this 3-month span, then we see that it looks like it trended up through June and then it trended pretty sharply down through July. I'll tell you, that is expected to some degree. July in Utah does typically see a bit of a dip in demand, but this looks pretty darn strong as a dip. And if we consider that 28 and a half homes is the average across this 3-month span, it's interesting to see that each of those weeks in July that we track how many homes were sold, all of them not only are less than the week before, but all of them are also under that average of 28 and a half homes sold per week. So demand looks to me in South Jordan as though it is subdued and probably on its way to trend down. If not in August, then in the months following through fall heading into winter. Interest rates have trended up here as they have everywhere else because interest rates aren't decided locally, they are decided nationally as a national average. We can see that it's just trended pretty strongly up across the last 3 months, particularly the last month. What about days on market? What about how long homes tend to sit on the market? And there's again a possibility for us to look at what's average and what's median, where more people are having an experience. If we look at the average days on market across the last 3 months, we see that it has trended down if anything, but it's been relatively flat if we draw a trend line through it. And if we look at the median days on market across those same last 3 months, then we see that it's trending up if anything. And they've actually met right at just about exactly the same point for this last week that I kept the data on, where average days on market was 54 and median days on market week over week, looking at it just for that last week, came to 55. The only reason the average days on market looks like it might be trending down on this chart is because of the high points it hit early on. But if we look at the last 2 months in particular, both of these tend to be looking like they're moving up and to the right. Days on market taking a little bit longer in South Jordan these last 3 months. And that's probably because interest rates keep trending up and demand looks like it's subdued, probably because of interest rates and where price points have come. So based on what we're seeing right now, with higher interest rates and subdued demand and plateaued and possibly now, but it's peaked, right? A high point of supply of housing. I think the most likely outcome on home prices right now is that they remain pretty flat if they don't start to drop off down as we head through fall and into the winter at the last half of this year. And I think some neighborhoods, particularly those with brand new builds still in the neighborhood, will see more price declines, but I still anticipate those price declines being modest. Now, of course, markets can change quickly if interest rates or other economic conditions change, but this is what the data suggests right now. Okay, so here's the takeaway. If you're looking to buy a home in South Jordan in the very near future, especially in Daybreak, you have more leverage than buyers have had in years. Builders are offering incentives, resale sellers are having to compete with them, and this creates good opportunities for you if you know how to look for them and how to construct your offer. If you're selling a house in South Jordan, it doesn't mean that you can't still get a great price for your home, but it does mean that pricing your home accurately, conservatively, and getting your house appropriately ready to go to market is more important now than ever. If you're thinking about moving to South Jordan or anywhere else in the Salt Lake County or its surrounding neighborhoods, I'd love to help you figure out which neighborhoods make the most sense for your budget and your goals. If you didn't earlier, now would be a perfect time to go ahead and pause the video, go into the video description, click on the Google form link there in the video description, fill that out. I will reach out to you soon afterward personally. And if this video was helpful for you, subscribe, because every single week I'm putting out another video about information that's gonna be helpful for you if you're thinking to move in the Salt Lake County area. Every week I'm breaking down another Utah city and local market to give you the pros and the cons and what to expect if you're moving here. I want you to have better data so you can make better decisions before you move. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.